Hello Milky friends, it is Milk still here with you for another Idle Heroes video. I hope you are well. I know it has been a couple of weeks since I made my last video, and that's only because nothing has really happened. Obviously, everyone's been saving up for the anniversary event, which as of me making this video is probably just 2 days away, so everyone's obviously quite excited for that, and obviously there's a lot of content on that, and so I'm not going to really talk about that because a lot of that stuff's already out there in terms of what the special events are, what the heroes you can get, etc, etc. And so there's really no tips I can give you there except for that you should definitely stock up on gold because it looks like gold is a major currency in the anniversary event, and in that you have to spend it to get other things. But apart from that, you know, everyone's been saving orbs, everyone's been saving scrolls, so there's not really much else that you can do to prepare for anniversary at this point in time. I mean, if you haven't got the scrolls, you haven't got the scrolls. There's just nothing you can do at the last minute. I will say that if you are short of gems to wait, if you look at see how many I have, 8,800, that's not a lot. And I haven't seen any information that says you need gems to like buy, for example, the tokens to flip more cards. And if that's the case, you know, you're going to get gems by buying the anniversary card. But if you're really stuck on gems, the other thing you could do is you can just pre-buy these monthly cards here. Because every time you buy this monthly card, you get 750 gems instantly. So if you know you're going to be playing the game for at least the next 6 months, you can just pre-buy these cards for the next 6 months in advance and spend, you know, the 90 bucks it costs to get like 7,500 gems just instantly. So if you know you're going to play that game for that long, just go for it. If, however, you know, you're unemployed and times are uncertain, I know it's tough. And if you're still wondering, I'm still unemployed, but I'm 12 days away from starting my next piece of work. So fingers crossed that gets started, and that's beautiful timing because that's basically right after the second week of the event, after I've made that video and done all the events. So then I can fully focus on my work and not make Idle Heroes videos. But yeah, I digress. If you need gems, I would just pre-buy these monthly cards because it's obviously the best value thing you can buy. Rather than, say, for example, going into, I don't know, these cool events and buying like one of these gem packages, right? It's just, don't do it. Like, don't buy this $70 gem package here. There's 12,000 gems. Just, you're far better off just pre-buying those monthly cards and getting those gems that you immediately get from buying those VIP monthly cards. Anyway, today I'm going to make a special video about Guild War and specifically how I run it. I know this will only interest like maybe 2% of you out there because I would imagine for most of you, you don't run your own guilds or you're not official, so you don't really care about Guild War. That and the fact that Guild War is changing probably means that this is just purely an informational video. So I've already talked about anniversary. If you don't want to hear about Guild War, just tune out. But if you're an Idle Heroes person and you got a spare 10-15 minutes to hear how I run Guild War and what's the most effective strategy, especially given that, I don't know, things are about to change, you might not care about it, then thanks for watching up to this point. Feel free to tune out, and I'll see you for anniversary, which I'm live streaming, by the way. It's a really crazy hour. It's only people in Asia Pacific can watch it, but it's effectively 2 hours after server reset. Anyway, Guild War. So Guild War obviously is a weekly event, and the purpose of Guild War is obviously to get the most number of points. Guild War is 2 parts, right? Everyone knows it's 2 parts. The first part is you qualify and you're going to try and get the highest number of points. I haven't registered my team, but the first part is you got to fight a bunch of battles, 40 battles basically, and you got to get the most number of points from those 40 battles. And then the top, I think it's 16 teams, duke it out to get and that's part 2 of Guild War, to get the next level of rewards. So there's 2 sets of rewards. The part 1, which is just that weekly league, whoever gets the most points get a certain number of rewards. So if you go, so if you go here, I've got to register. All right, I will register my team, and then we can get that out of the way. So Guild War registration, there we go. So the first part of this, like I said, it's to get the maximum number of points in just the normal Guild War rank, right? You're going to get a set number of rewards for getting a certain rank, which is here. Like, see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically, you want to come in the top 3 to get the good rewards. I mean, the reality of Guild War is, if you've gotten to this point, this stage, you've already done Frame Shrine, you're basically after these Guild War coins, and the prize differential isn't big enough that people actually give a shit about Guild War. That's why it's one of those things that only officials and guild leaders care about. And yes, I know I'm saying guild wrong. I think most of you say guild. I just pronounce it guild. You just got to deal with it. I know I get a million comments about it because you guys are like, "What the hell is he saying?" Guild, guild. I say guild. I know most of you say guild. So let's just park that to one side, fellas. Park that to one side. But the rewards aren't big enough that people actually care enough about Guild War. So, yeah, like I said, this video isn't really only for the 4 or 5% that really care. So, 2 parts to it. So the secret to Guild War, as every person who runs this know, is basically you're trying to get the maximum number of points. So I'm speaking purely about part 1, right? When you're trying to get the highest possible rank throughout the week to get within the top 16 to get into the finals. And then if you get into the finals and if you place somewhere in the finals, you're just going to get even more rewards, right? The secret, well, there's no secret. Everyone to get the maximum number of points, you're basically picking the top 5 players in your team, the most powerful 5 players in your team, to fight your battles, because each player can fight up to 3 times. And when you face another team, you're basically trying to beat them 15-0 in terms of the score that you're trying to achieve. You're trying to win the first 15 matches, basically. And so that's why when you're setting a lineup, most people really only try and concentrate on the top 5 players. And then after that, the ranking from 6 to 15. That only really matters for part 2, when you're trying to, for example, come up with a lineup that can beat, say, a more powerful team, right? So if you know another team has, just 5 really insanely strong players, and then the next 10 are completely shit. The reality is you're just going to throw away a whole bunch of weak players at the start, and because those guys will never win any battle, right? You're just going to throw away those players at the start, and you're going to rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6, and then you're going to concentrate on winning the next battle from 6 to 15, basically. But that's part 2 of Guild War. In part 1 of Guild War, you're basically trying to win against each team that you face 15-0. And so to win 15-0, given that each player can fight 3 times, you're basically, in your top 5 players, you're basically trying to stack the top 5 people that you think will basically be able to duke it out for 3 battles against the weakest possible enemy that you find. So that's the first thing, when you're setting up your lineup, or what I do think about when I set my lineup. And you can see here that in terms of power, so if we go to set lineup, right, it doesn't actually go in power order, right? The most common mistake that people make is that they just go, especially for first-time people that run Guild War, like I did, right? You basically go by power, right? So you would think, based on power, you go, okay, I got Milkshield's got 4.1 million power. He should go first. Then who's got the next most number of power? Sneak. He's got 4.3 million power, so then he should go second. It's not quite that easy. The key thing to look out for when you think about your top 5, the thing about Guild War is, because you can fight up to 3 battles, the lineup you put and set up in Guild War is different from, say, Trial of the Champions or Crystal Crown League, where you only have to fight 1 battle. To fight 3 battles, really the lineup that you have to put in has to be one that can self-revive or regen, right? So like lineups with carries, Aiders, Belrains, Rooters, or even Unimax, these guys, they can self-regenerate health, right? Lineups with Tara are a big no-no. That's why this guy, right, 7-up, double carry, double Tara, PvP, phenomenal team, phenomenally powerful. But because he's got double Tara, it's a very, very weak Guild War team. Because for example, if he comes up against a powerful hero, or some burst team, because this guy 7-up doesn't have an Arm and Ra, so when he comes up against burst teams like with Penny and with Aspen, right, and they knock out on a Tara, that Tara doesn't come back in battle 2 or 3, right? That's why 7-Up is, for example, nowhere near the top in terms of power. Like sometimes I put him 5, sometimes I put him 6. So that's the first thing you can do if you're trying to run Guild War properly and you're watching this and you're trying to think, oh, how can I help my team out? You basically need to put in a lineup, especially if you're in a top 5. If you have a lineup that's powerful enough to be in the top 5, you need to put in heroes that can survive 3 battles. So the second thing you do to help survivability is don't pick the fucking Phoenix. The Phoenix does nothing for health. You need to pick Dia, right? These guys that pick Phoenix, that's a big no-no. So again, because this Chinese player, his lineups are powerful enough and these heroes self-gen enough, I tend to put him 1. Sometimes I put him 2. I usually put myself 1 because I have a lineup that can actually self-heal within battles, but then the Dia also basically, it contributes to the healing effect, right? Because remember, you got to fight up to 3 battles. So that's the what I think through when I'm setting a lineup. It's how survivable each team is. So for example, if we go to, and I apologize for the graphics jumping around. See, like if you, for example, this Sneak guy, right? So he's got a very old lineup. He's got 4.3 million power. So if you did base purely on power, Sneak at number 10 should be my number 1 player. The other thing I look for, apart from power and the lineup and the animal that you use, the creature that you use, the monster that you use to support, is how current is your lineup, right? So these burst heroes like Aspen, Penny, and Horus, they're out of date. They're dead, right? That's why he's not in the top 5. Like he's got a lot of power and we want him in the top 10 because he's got more power than basically everyone else and is a much better lineup than all the other lineups I have. For example, you can't see the other players that didn't make the cut, but he's in there for that particular reason. So that's the other thing I have to consider. How current is your lineup meta? If it's not current, I can't put you in the top 10. You should still participate. So the other thing that you should keep in mind is even though, so in a guild, you can have up to basically 28 players. So is that right? 28? I think so. So you can have up to 28 players. Even though you may not have a top 15 team or even a top 5 team, you should always register. That's the other key point I need to emphasize to people that when they think about Guild War, like, oh, my team's not powerful enough, there's no point. No, that's not fucking true. So if at the end of the part 1 of Guild War, you come up with the same number of points. So let's say, for example, with Devil Warrior, let's say my team ends up with 33,640 points, right? And we both have the same number of points. How do they break the tie? They basically look at the total power, this number here, of your team, right? So the team with and I'm pretty sure it also applies to how many people have registered. But basically, the team with the greatest overall power, I think it's 60 million. Yeah, so we've got 60 million power. And I'm pretty sure that counts the top 15. And I think everyone else that has taken part. So it basically counts everyone, their power who has registered for Guild War. It counts the collective power of your entire team in deciding how to break that tie. And that's why everyone must register for Guild War. And that's typically why 2 days on now we're basically 2 days after season reset for Guild War, I haven't done basically anything. And that's because I want to wait for people to register. Some people take 2 days, some people do it on the first day, some people do it within the first hour. Like I would prefer you do it in the first hour, but because it doesn't actually matter with Guild War, you can only fight 40 times. It actually doesn't matter when you register your team, right? So I've done it plus 2 days after server reset. I could register this team on the last day and it wouldn't matter. It doesn't let me do any more than 40 fights. And typically you want to register later, like plus 3 days after the season resets, because for a couple of reasons. One, like I just mentioned, you want to give people time to register. And that's because you want your best team and the most number of players registered, because the power matters to break tie. Secondly, you want people to have the opportunity to participate and get the rewards as well. So even though you're not in the top 15, if your team places, you still get the rewards because you registered, right? Thirdly, like I said, there's no advantage from registering a team any earlier than someone else's. You only get 40 fights. So whether you register on Monday or Saturday before the season ends, it actually doesn't matter. Then lastly, you actually don't want to register too early, because if you register too early, then well, it's like IDA. The amount of teams that you can face is quite limited. And similarly, when you, for example, now that I've registered right, when you go to campaign hall and you do matchups and you look for teams to duel against, because we're ranked 20 right now, it's going to search for teams to fight around that ranking. And you want to fight basically weak teams when you've registered, not really strong teams, right? And that's the other reason why, and this is a little trick that a lot of people don't realize. Well, certainly that it may not be apparent to you, but when you go to campaign hall, this ranking here that you see up here, you see how it says we're 20, that doesn't change unless you get out of this entire screen, right? So that means that when I do Guild War and I do fights, right, I basically do it twice, 2 to 3 times in a week, as opposed to the new format where I think you basically, everyone has to fight every single day, which is going to be a big challenge because I don't think everyone's going to fight every single day. But Guild War, as it stands right now, like I said, you don't get any more than 40 fights. And so the trick here, you're trying to look for weak teams. And because the algorithm matches you around similarly placed teams in terms of power, rank, sorry, you basically you want to fight as few times as possible. You want to fight while your rank is low. So rank 20 right now, right? If I don't get out of this screen, I'm going to stay at rank 20. So even if I do a whole bunch of fights, like for example, let's just do a couple of fights so we can fight these guys and hopefully we get a perfect score. And so what we're trying to look for are opponents that we know. So people that run Guild War know the weak teams. We always pick on the weakest teams possible, and because we're after the 15-0 victory. Because 15-0, what that basically gets us is the maximum number of points, which is an odd number, 1,920 points, right? And so you'll see that my ranking doesn't change, and if I keep staying the screen, my rank won't change at all, meaning the people that I fight are around the rank 20 mark. So even though if I do 21 matches and I get perfect scores for all of them, that puts me basically at the top of the overall rankings. But because I don't get out of this screen, the ranking stays at this number. It's a little trick. And because my rank doesn't change here, every time I click the matchup button, it's going to find a similarly ranked team, right? I know it's weird like that, right? But that's a little trick that I picked up on. And so that's why I only do fights 2 to 3 times, because I wait halfway through the week where after I register my team, I have a very low rank, meaning I'm going to fight very weak teams, or when I hit the matchup button, because you hear stories about people clicking the matchup button for hours on end to find that really, really weak team. The problem with that is if you are ranked number 1 and you hit the matchup button, the algorithm's going to try and find teams with similar rank. It's going to show you the similar, like highly ranked teams, right? So you can smash as much as you want. It's never going to come up, right? Whereas if you wait until you're a low rank, right, then it's going to find you teams around that same rank as you, that similarly placed, like a low ranking team, which is why I do it so few, because I register and then I'm ranked 20 and then do like a whole set of fights. Then I wait for everyone to do their fights and then rank over me because they're going to get more points. I wait until basically a couple of hours until the end of Guild War when my rank falls from like, I don't know, 1. So if I'm going to do all 20 fights now and it's going to get me to 1. But then if I wait until the last minute to do my remaining fights, I'm going to do it at a much lower rank. I don't know if that makes sense, and I don't know if you guys agree with that, but generally I found that to be the best strategy. So anyway, that's Guild War as it works right now. I know everyone else has, like I said, everyone else probably has a different strategy, but that's how I've been able to rank in the top, 5 to 6 for part 1 of Guild War every single time. And that's how I've been able to generate Guild coins for my team for so long. Like I said, all of this is going to change because there's a new format and more involved format of Guild War that's coming out. And that's going to require everyone to participate. And I think it's going to be more interesting. It's going to be more involved, certainly for the officials and the leadership as well, to actually manage that, I think, on a day-to-day basis. I don't think it's actually quite that easy, because this used to be pretty hassle-free, right? You wait 2 days for everyone to register, you rank your top 15 players in a certain order, and that usually never changes. It very rarely changes. And then you do fights basically 3 times throughout the week. And that's basically it. It's very easy to get gold coins that way, but it's changing. So yeah, I mean, I like this old format. It worked for me. The new format, I think, is going to be terrible, especially for the people on the newer servers. It's like IDA, Interdimensional Arena, where basically you need a fuck ton of E5 heroes. You need all that power just to basically be reasonably competitive, because you're up against players on server 1 who've played this game from the start, and they're going to have they've had the opportunity to acquire so much food and so many copies that they're going to have, like, because you're allowed up to 60 heroes in the new Guild War, they're going to have like 30, 40 E5 heroes, right? Especially if they're a whale. I've got like, 2 teams of E5 heroes, nearing on 3 now. If you're in a newer server, you're shit out of luck. You're still trying to build your first E5 hero, right? So you're never going to be able to acquire guild coins as quickly as someone on an older server. And it, increasingly it's going to matter, especially if this new dark hero is any good, right? Everyone's going to be dumping coins into anti-assassin, and within the assassin tech, they're going to do, reduce damage for the ranger class, because they're going to try to fight carries, and against the warrior class. So I've got 30,000 coins saved up to allocate if there's a shift in the meta to back towards the assassin, where assassin becomes relevant again, to upgrade some tech. But yeah, it's by no means, guild coins are still valuable, right? And you need so many to basically do the level 2 techs that I doubt anyone's gotten there. So Guild War's going to be quite important. It's still going to be important going forward. And I think what's going to be particularly important, because like Interdimensional Arena, you can get frames from it, right? And you can upgrade those frames. I think everyone is going to try and get into, obviously, the top league, and the top league, because if you finish there, you get the best frame possible, because everyone's going to, it's like Interdimensional Arena. Everyone's going to try and get the top frame. But the problem is, unlike Interdimensional Arena, where, even if you had a weak team, you could still basically come in the OVC League, provided you had a fuck ton of tickets. In Guild War, you can't do that. You are now relying on others, right? So I think there's going to be, under the new Guild War format, I think all the whales from, especially the newer servers, you're basically going to band together. And even the older servers, they're going to band together. They're going to get rid of the players that don't play every single day, because people need to attack every single day, because they have the chance to attack every single day. I think under the new format, I think you're going to see some new and interesting combinations of guilds out there, because I think the status quo is going to change. It's because now you need to, because it's server versus server in terms of guild, and no longer within a server. Like, right, for example, the competition in this server for Guild War, if you look at it, it's basically amongst, if we look at the rankings, these Devil Warrior teams, this Megalodon team, which there are 2, and then who else is important? So this Explosion team, right? So there's only 8 guilds that basically dominate this. Well, to be realistic, there's only 4 top guilds in this team that have enough power to fight each other every week, and the scores are reasonably similar, with the exception of this guy, this number 3. So number 3 has basically all the whales, right? I've got some of the whales, but this rank 3 team here, they've got all the whales. This Devil Warrior team, there's 4 of them, but only 2 of them really have all the whales. I see a great shift coming. I think all the whales are going to be like, well, fuck all the weak players. Like, yeah, thanks for sticking around. Now let's band together, because we want to be in the top league. And the competition is no longer Megalodon. The competition is someone else on another server, right? That you don't know about. So I think it's going to change the balance of power within servers in terms of what guild you belong to. Like the friendly rivalries between guilds on a server, that's going to go away. Like, no one's going to give a shit anymore, because you're facing teams on other servers. Now it's more about, fuck you guy on server 32, your guild. We're going to absolutely cream you. I think it's going to be an interesting change. It's going to be more involved. Will it be successful? Only time will tell. Anyway, that's the video for today. Thank you for listening. If you made it through all the way to the end, I know it's a very different video. Not many people talk about Guild War because it's so like it doesn't impact everyone. Really, only 1 to 2 people run it. But hopefully, it gives you some insight into what it actually involves. I know all of it's changing, and I'll do another video once I sort of worked out how the new one works and what's the best way to do it. Anyway, hope you have a great week ahead, and I shall see you Friday for the anniversary event.